So people come to me all the time and say, well, what is blockchain? How do you explain it? My definition is, I tell people, I don't know how the blockchain works, but I know how it works for you. And what I mean by that is, imagine trying to figure out how a website works. You right-click a website, you see the code. You don't need to know how it works, you need to know how a website works for your business. Blockchain to me is an underlying technology that I don't think it's important to understand how it works. What you do is say, what's the ramifications of how the blockchain impacts my business?
You know, the number one reason businesses fail, small businesses, small companies, there's one. There's 3 or 4 contributing factors, one primary factor. Anybody want to guess what it is? Money, capital. If you don't get properly funded, if you miss your milestones, if you miss any one of these things, you are screwed because you don't have enough money to get through to be successful. If you're a smart entrepreneur, you're going to figure it out the longer your runway is because you're not trying to screw people. You're trying to be successful. Capital doesn't always follow that same thing. So the ICO is like this great way to get funded, and it's quick and it's easy, and it provides liquidity for your investors in a way that equity never did. You think, all right, well, if that's the case, what's wrong with it? There's a lot of problems with ICOs. Number one, they are disconnected from reality. And that reality is, for the most part, up until 30 days ago, there was no equity, there is no compliance, there is no guidance, there is no oversight, there is no equity. Equity's fascinating, but equity is a bit of a fallacy. But still, people are like, oh, I want my equity. I want my liquidity. But I want some compliance in equity that I've got something that allows me to say or participate or do what I want.
Stephen?
Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. I'm going to start with an easy question. How many of you like money? Right? All right, that proves we're still awake. Not everybody knows the derivation or the meaning of money, or actually where it came from. Believe it or not, this is the first form of money. And what I mean by that is when the world of commerce started out, it was barter. I've got chickens, you've got milk, let's trade. But there was no portability in that if you had something unequal. The first forms of portable currency were the Moneta seashells. That's actually where the word money comes from. All right, thanks everybody. Let's do a quick refresh. In order to move forward, I think we have to go back. The world started out as barter. I've got chickens, you've got milk, let's trade. In order to move to portability, we had to create coins. The first global coins ever were Moneta seashells. And that's what our company is. Our company is called Moneta Pro. And basically the size of the market that we're going after is a $17 trillion market.
Companies trade with. It's a formula I created years ago called ELT equals V. Efficiency, liquidity, and trust. Moneta Pro provides an efficiency in the marketplace. Liquidity is the partners that they already trust. If you bring them in, you create value. So we're not trying to sign 200, we're not trying to sign 20, we have 10. If we get 3 to 5 of them, there's billions of revenue that we believe that could come up. Will it? Again, we're early in the process, but all the conversations have been very, very forceful, very fruitful, and things are moving along quite nicely.
And how wide a market are you trying to serve? As in, what's the smallest size company that could benefit from it?
So Moneta Pro is an open platform at the end. Any company could utilize it. Our market is not that. The marketing to small to mid-sized businesses, customer acquisition cost is tremendously high. and there's no velocity. You can't sign a local auto mechanic who trades with a printer. So we're not targeted into the small.
Yeah, do you think it's the next internet?
I think it's bigger than the internet, not in a hyperbolic way. It's just the technology of what it does. I'm not talking coins, I'm not talking crypto, I'm talking the underlying fundamental aspect of blockchain. Yeah. If you go back and look at, you can look at any industry, and again, this is what my saying is the internet isn't an industry, it's a technology that disrupted industries. It's an underlying technology, the internet. And on top of the internet, you have e-commerce, you have software, you have media. Blockchain's just an underlying technology component. The cryptocurrencies, to me, the Bitcoins, Dash, those are the e-commerce components. You've got the EOS of the world that are the software. You've got the Ripples of the world, which are banking. You've got guys trying to do media, trying to do advertising, trying to do supply chain. It's an underlying fundamental technology that has a lot of advantages and does things that the internet couldn't do. It just does it more efficiently. But it's not going to disrupt everything. It's not going to blow it up. But it'll create new efficiencies in a lot of these businesses that will either make them more profitable or make the service delivery cheaper and faster and better.
My name's Stephen Meade, and I am CEO and founder of BigBambooLLC. And I think the question I get asked all the time, or I ask people as well, what's the #1 question in a startup or a business you should ask yourself? And I get questions and answers like, oh, how are you going to make money? No, the #1 question you should always ask when you start a business is, why won't this work? You need to go into every business soliciting negative information and negative feedback. If I go and tell you, look how great my company is, you're going to give me platitudes. Oh yeah, it's great. I don't need platitudes. I need to know, hey, why won't this work? Why don't you like it? Who's my competition? What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? And when you go in with a negative aspect, it turns into a positive because that gives you the true feedback. So that's one of the things. Another one I'm a big proponent of is I ask people all the time, and this is part of what I teach, is I say what you do is irrelevant, what you need is important. And I have a way of sequencing down to figure out what people need, what they need is. But one of the quick questions is, if I looked at you and said, who are the 3 to 5 people you need to meet right now to move your business forward? By name, who are those people? I get blank stares all the time of people going, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. And that's a travesty. It's not my job to help you figure out your business. So figuring out who your 5 people are and how you get to those 5 critical people is a really important step in business. And that's a lot of what I teach, is some of that critical thinking of how to get down to those names, how to identify people, and then most importantly, how to leverage your network to get introductions to the people that you want to go meet and add value to. Laws. What fascinated me with the banking laws is what Malta did is they passed the digital ledger and the digital asset laws first to standardize terminology. And that's important. I can ask half of you guys in the room what a security token is, and half of you think it's an investment instrument, and half of you think it's tied to a dividend or an asset. And so our community's already screwed up on terminology. Malta said, hey, let's set the terminology and then force the bankers to follow. So now you've got a thread of consistency in terminology. So the banks are getting ready to launch in November for crypto deposits. And they're going to charge a 1/4 to 1/2 basis point for management fee, offer banking services. So where we move our deposits was very important, because I'm running around with, I've got my stuff on thumb drives in houses that I don't own, so nobody can steal it. And that's just, without a custodial account, it's an impossibility to build a company as a business. It's a fallacy and a joke for us right now. Then I got technology, and I'm almost done. Technology and service providers. Again, when we looked at Singapore, Malta's an English-speaking country. So dealing with programmers, technology, talent, all of my attorneys, all of our contracts, all of our bankers are all in English, which was a component. And we believe we can hire talent off of Malta, which we couldn't do with the talent base in Bermuda and the Caymans and some of these other areas. And then the 5th one's personal tax. And I love Turpin and the guys running down to Puerto Rico and all that, but
counting the number of days on an island. I've got enough to think about without having to count a number of days. And Malta's got some interesting things from a personal tax standpoint. And so I was looking at totality in a long term, not just short-term jurisdiction or where to stick a company.
So as I moved on, I learned a premise that I teach called Wifu Wifum, meaning what's in it for you, what's in it for me. So if I can figure out how to add value to you and what you're doing, I'll figure out eventually how to add value for me. So a lot of the relationships I learned to develop over time was spinning my head thinking, all right, how can I add value to this person at whatever level they're at? And I learned how to ask questions better. I learned how to find out what somebody was passionate about and figured out how to solve somebody else's problem. At any level, anywhere in the world, I can get to anybody I want to get to. But if I know what their problem is, I have an open door to potentially solve that problem at any point. So a little bit of it's just spinning your head of not going in selfishly saying, hey, here, do this for me. It's what's in it for you and how can I add value?